that we're live. We were out with the kids. We just went for a walk, and it started to rain, so we had to run back. And I'm really, really hot and tired right now, so we're only gonna do the live for maybe 20 minutes. But I have my husband Patrick here, who is going to answer some questions about organic farming, permaculture, all that good stuff. So I'll just give it a few more minutes to take some time to notify people, and then we'll start answering your questions. You want to say hi?
Hello.
This is my husband Patrick. He does all of our food production and everything to do with gardening and stuff. I'll turn a little bit,
There we go.
as I'm not the gardener in the family. So yeah, he does all of that, and we just finished filming a really awesome live video. Was that my phone that made that
No,
noise? Or
that
yours?
was
Okay.
that was my phone.
We just finished filming a really awesome video for my holisticspring.org membership platform that goes like really in depth on a lot of like pest control and all that fun stuff for gardening. So you guys can head over there and check that out. But if you have any questions about permaculture, anything like that, then just let us know. I had, I want to say a couple weeks ago, I posted a Q&A box on Instagram asking you guys, what are your most asked questions. Now, something that a lot of people have been asking, and this is one question you actually didn't answer in your video that we filmed. How do you know, like, specifically, or where can you find out, like, depending on the area that you live in or the zone or whatever, how do you know what you're able to plant for your climate? Because I have like, you guys are from all over the world, and that's like something I get asked all the time. Is like, how do you know what you're allowed to plant? Because you plant tropical stuff and you plant it outside sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to know?
Yeah, so there's growing zones in the world. You can actually just Google growing zone in your country. So we're in Canada. We have a huge country, so we have actually a lot of zones. We have from I think zone 7 in some parts, all the way up to zone like 0 is like the Arctic. So depending on that, you can see what can grow where, but you can also extend that a little bit. So if I have like a south-facing brick wall, I might be in a zone, say 6, but it might be that area might be a zone 7 or even higher. Um, or you can just do
I can't hear you that well. Sorry.
sorry. You can also do polytunnels or different ways to increase the zone. So just really just Google it. Zone. What zone am I in? Your city, and then you should be able to know what you can plant there all year round. It really goes by your climate, right? So if it's very cold, um, you'll be in a lower zone. If it's very hot, you'll be in a higher number. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, so you know those little greenhouse, not like a full blown greenhouse, those little glass domes that you can
Mm-hmm.
put on top of a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Can those keep your plants even in the winter, or is that not for the
Yeah. No,
winter?
those will just extend like the season and fall a little bit. If it goes to like -5 or more, it'll probably be 0 in those. So just not enough for some plants. Um, but for like growing tropical fruits, for example, in Canada, you need something heated or something with a lot of sun facing, like an area that's covered and facing the sun. But you'd probably need heat here. But then again, if you want to grow something that's very cold in like a cold weather plant in a hot zone, it's now you need cooling, so it's a little bit different setup in those areas.
Okay. So a question that I get asked all the time, from everybody, literally, when there's plants that are like on the verge of death, like they're they haven't been cared for. I know a lot of people don't have green thumbs, and anybody, if you have questions, you can post them. But if a plant's like on the verge of death, what do you do? Is there things that you can do to bring it back to life? I see people on Instagram doing something, and they go from a dead plant to like a full blown plant. Is there something nutrition you can add? Like what how do we bring plants back? Either from overwatering or underwatering.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, underwatering is simple. Add some water. So most of the plants still start wilting and they start turning like more crispy, and that means they're underwater. Give them water. You'd be surprised how many plants you can bring back to life with just a little bit of water, and pretty quickly too. Um, well, if it's overwatered, just you have to dry it out. Even sometimes take the plant out of the pot, or if it's potted, or if it's sitting in a field, take it out. Um, Actually, let it dry out a little bit. The easiest way to tell is if it's like wilted and yellow, but like they could be dry, too dry or too wet. But the easiest way to tell those apart is if it's yellow and squishy, then it's overwatered. If it's yellow and crispy, it's underwatered. So it's very easy fix there.
Okay, so if a plant, is there ever a point where you like you how do you know when your plant's done? Like for example, the eucalyptus tree in my office, that's like crispy.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you know, is it done? Like do
Yeah.
you
So you look at the stem, right? If there's any nodes, any buds, anything looks like there's something growing, then it has a chance of living. Even the roots. So the top of the plant dies, but then you see the bottom is still healthy, and you see little roots starting to form. That means the plant's trying to come back to life. If you take care of it, you probably get a new shoot, and it's still okay. But if it's very dry, it's crispy, the ground is dry, it's been like that for a few weeks, it's gone. So
okay.
yeah.
So maybe if you can just take a minute, Patrick, just can you kind of quickly introduce yourself again? I forgot to do that at the beginning, like what you do in terms of permaculture, like your diplomas or whatever.
Sure. So I have a permaculture design certificate. And for you, those of you that don't know, permaculture is just a way um, per- to create agriculture that's permanent. So instead of growing monocultures, like tons and tons of corn or wheat, permaculture looks at forests and designs after them because forests maintain themselves. So you're growing in layers, you're growing trees, you're growing vines and edible food all in one. So you're really creating an edible food forest that everything you can eat. And you're designing that the water stays on the property and it takes care of itself rather than having to go water every day and take care of it and put chemicals on it. So I have a background in permaculture. I had a landscaping business in that. I've worked in greenhouses many years, and right now I'm still working in greenhouses. So uh, I definitely have a lot of experience with plants and permaculture and growing food.
Awesome. Okay. So just hold on here. Um, Dusty stuff sitting on indoor plants that don't seem to be dust. What do you do? You told me about
Dusty
this.
stuff on indoor
Well, you said
plants.
plants can't breathe if there's
Yeah, so okay, if there's two things that could be. So first of all, dusty stuff that could be dust itself. So really, plants indoors need to be cleaned. So you just take a paper towel, soak it with some water, clean each leaf to get rid of the dust because the plants need to breathe and it helps them survive. Especially tropical plants, you want to spray them down with some water, like a spray bottle with some water, and that should help that. There's also another thing that could be there's powdery mildew. There's kind of mildews that grow on leaves, so that could be killing the plant itself. So what you want to do for that is change the pH, spray it down with something that changes the pH on the leaf, whether it's alkaline water. I've seen people do it with milk, different sorts of things. That'll get rid of that fungus, and then the plant will come back to life a little bit better. So you just want to make sure that your plant is always, you're trying to recreate the environment they grow up in. So if it's a tropical plant from the jungle, for example, you don't want to have your house dry and make it like a desert for them. You want to keep it moist. You want to spray them and clean them, especially.
okay. So I think that hold on. I have to open up the chat. So that's like the next one. If you do have a moldy plant, what's the best way to clean the air? Have one air purifier. I have one air purifier, but I keep it in the living room. Yeah, so I guess I see that too a lot. I feel like I'm zoomed in. I see that a lot on plants. The base on top of the dirt, it has like a layer of mold, and wonder the same thing because there's actually one on our stairs, and I'm like terrified of mold in our home.
Mm-hmm.
There's that plant on our stairs has
Oh, is it
mold.
okay?
So is what about that?
So that's usually from too much water, and because you have plants indoors, a lot of them don't have holes in the bottom or any way for the extra water to drip out. So if you take the plant out of the pot, it's soaking and it's sitting in water, and then the mold is just feeding off of any organic matter on top of the soil. So there, you just want to water it a little bit less. You make sure it's not completely dry. But if you have mold and funguses growing in your soil in pots, that means it's too wet. So actually give it a few days without water. Watch the plant that doesn't wilt, and then once it dries out, just water it a little bit at a time. Make sure that the water can actually flow out of the plant. Either put it in a dish or a bowl or something, just so that it has a way to, so it doesn't sit in the water. I mean,
Okay, so what about when it's not wet? Like, for example, we have a plant again right on our staircase that I haven't watered in probably 2 weeks, and if you feel the soil, it's dry, but there's mold.
like
What it,
mold
like
growing on
white
the
fuzzy
plant.
mold.
I feel like that
Okay.
depends what's.
I'm doing something wrong with that one.
It's really hard to tell. There may be something just fell on it, right? Some organic matter, some sort of who knows what, and the mold is just feeding off of it, right? So
Okay, could be. It could be. Yeah.
if your plant can live in it, mold can definitely live on it. So you just have to check the, I guess, the soil moisture. But the best way to check it is just by looking at it, picking up the plant. Is it heavy or light? And you should know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's big and weird mushrooms that grow randomly in the parents' yard last year. Would love to send you a picture of them, and perhaps you can tell me if they were UFOs or okay.
Mushrooms, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We have mushrooms growing in our backyard. His parents have mushrooms. I said this in that video that you were on.
Mm-hmm.
His parents have mushrooms that you step on them, and it's like that green dust comes out of
Yeah,
it.
it's called a puffball. You can actually eat those when they're
Oh.
white. When they're white.
I was terrified. It puffed on me, and I was like, I'm gonna die. I thought I was like gonna die from poison. But anyway, okay. Yeah. So Patrick talked a lot extensively about fungus in your soil, what it means. So that's going to be on holisticspring.org. I'm posting it tonight, so it should be like done by tomorrow. You guys can check it out. He goes into a lot more depth about fungus in the soil, what it means, good or bad, what to do, all that. So you guys can check that out. Do I keep the moldy soil in the pot or take it out?
So the moldy soil, I guess it depends how long it's been there. So every plant needs nutrition to survive, right? So if you have a plant that's been sitting in the same soil for 5-6 years with no, I guess, fertilizer, no nutrition in it, you probably want to change the soil even once a year, right, to get that nutrients for the soil and for the plant to survive in. If it's in the garden, or you don't really need to do that, but in a potted plant, you need to really either add fertilizer, whether it's organic or not, because mold and funguses in a pot or can overtake the plant. So I mean, you want to make sure there's not too much fungus in that little amount of soil that you do have.
Okay, another question that people have been asking is about hybrid. So I want strictly organic when we're planting, but he'll come across hybrid seeds, and you have said before that doesn't mean it's GMO.
Mm-hmm.
Does hybrid mean GMO or no?
No. So hybrid is crossing two. For example, I have two different types of tomatoes. I get the pollen from one and cross it with the other one. Now the seed on that plant, in that tomato, next year if I plant it, will be a hybrid seed. It'll be a cross of two tomatoes, but they're the same variety. They're still, the same species. Two tomatoes crossed created a third tomato. GMO is I cross a strawberry and a fish, and now I have strawberry that has traits from the fish.
Ew.
So I mean that'll never happen in nature, but in GMO they take little clips and they can just pick and choose what traits they want in their, I guess, in their veggies. So you're getting crosses that would never happen in nature. Here we have two tomatoes or two cucumbers, but they create a third one that's different, has some different traits, but it's still a cucumber 100% or still a tomato.
Okay.
They're organic. Like I can cross two organic tomatoes and it's still a hybrid organic tomato. Organic doesn't really mean anything in that sense. They're just two tomatoes that crossed, and now you have a new variety, different color, different shape, but it's still a tomato.
Okay, that makes sense. So what do you do when you say you buy a new house or you live near somewhere where, say you bought a house from somebody and they have sprayed fertilizers, Roundup, whatever, on their property, and now you want to start planting and you're nervous about pesticides, or if you live near a golf course or near farms that spray, is there a way that you can get pesticides and stuff out of your soil, or is it just in there? Like if you're planting something, is it something you just have to deal with?
Yeah, no, it'll go away eventually. I mean,
Can you speed it up though?
you can speed it up. So first step, I guess, would always be mushrooms, right? Mushrooms are great at pulling out chemicals out of soil. You wouldn't want to eat those mushrooms because they'd be concentrated in whatever it is that's been sprayed. So you can get that very easily. Just throw some wood chips in there. That'll help suck it up very quick. Also, just time with rain. I mean, rain will wash out eventually, even if there's lots of chemicals or salts in the soil. I mean, if you fertilize too much, you have a lot of salt buildup. Rain will wash it out eventually, but it takes time. Or you can always bring other soil in from somewhere else on top. But with between fungus and good organic matter and bringing back life into the soil, you'll clean it up, but it'll take a little bit, maybe a few seasons for it to be 100% gone.
Okay. Because we don't spray our anything. Like we just do completely organic here. But you never know what people spray. And our neighbors, I believe, spray Roundup. I see on their weeds or something. I see them spraying stuff, and that's always something that I'm concerned about because the water table naturally it all goes into the water and it's going throughout everybody's property. So um, that's something I heard somebody they use some kind of sponge like a moss
Hmm.
or something
Yeah, with the water, for
because those are
example.
good binders.
Yeah, with the water, you can if you're worried about water coming to your property that's toxic or whatever. I mean, swampland has like people create ponds. I've seen permaculture ponds that are just designed to suck up toxins. They plant. You really don't have to plant. You just dig a hole. The water will fill up, and I mean, eventually the plants will fill in, and animals will bring stuff to it, either ducks, and that'll act as a big sponge for all the toxins in the area. So, yeah, just really bring organic matter, cover the soil, keep it alive.
Yeah.
I mean, like get bacteria and fungus under there, and it'll start taking care of itself.
Okay. Hold on here. Okay, what can a beginner, can you hear the kids? What can a beginner do to start a good process of growing your own food? I only have a small balcony at this point, but would love to get started. Hold on, actually, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, before you
No,
answer
go
this
ahead.
question, when we first, well, actually, he had an apartment, and when we got married, I moved in, and it was a one bedroom, the tiniest balcony.
Yeah.
And we had tomato, cucumber, every herb you can think of, and some other stuff. I don't even remember anymore. But potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes. And
Yeah, we had a lot. My point is, we had a balcony, so I get that for 6 months, and he grew a lot of food on it. So if you want to touch on
okay.
that,
Yeah, so on a balcony, it's possible to grow actually quite a bit. I'm not sure which way your balcony is facing. If it's south facing in the, I guess, northern hemisphere, that's awesome. Um, our old apartment we had north facing, so we were
so
in the
yeah,
shade and the
yeah.
dark and the cold. Um, but if you have sun, you can actually do quite a bit in containers. Um, I guess the best idea would be to go if you have a rectangle balcony, get a rectangle pot so you can maximize the space. You can grow in soil, or you can do like hydroponics. Hydroponics is a little bit more complex. You need to know
And expensive.
ratios of nutrients and stuff, but I mean you can make that work. But you want to grow. I would suggest growing vertically. So get a big container.
Those modular,
Yeah,
the modular pots. Would those work or
yeah,
no?
those would work. You can get all kinds of pots. You can get
Because they'll
pots that
stack.
go on top of your railing, things like that. But you want to maximize the space that's facing the sun. So if you put a big rectangle pot with a trellis on the back, I would grow either beans, peas, things like that, or cucumbers,
That can
tomatoes that
climb.
can climb. Make sure your tomatoes are indeterminate. There's two types of
Sorry, they're
tomatoes.
what?
There's climbing and there's non-climbing tomatoes. Get the climbing type. Let those climb up the back. Grow from like highest to shortest in the front, so that way you maximize your little space that you do have. So things that are very small, low. I don't know, like a basil in the front, smaller size tomato in the middle, climbing cucumbers up the back, and you'd have
So
a
kind
lot
of
of
like a.
like a big triangle, pretty much. That's facing the sun.
Okay, what if you don't have a south facing like ours? What did you do on our balcony?
Yeah, you can still grow things that are not as. You won't grow as much, but you'll still grow some veggies. I mean, you can grow like lettuce or pea shoots, microgreens in the shade. That's not because microgreens. You're not growing the mature plant. You're just growing like a little baby plant and then cutting it. So I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can do that. And you can put those on a shelf, right? The more you stack, the higher you go vertical, the more you have on that little balcony. So
One thing that we had that worked well for us was he would take the plants that needed sun, and he would put them on our south-facing window inside the apartment, like on a ledge, start them off that way. And then he also purchased a grow light, like a rectangular grow light that we had that he would put stuff under. And if I recall, and I could be wrong, but you used to rotate, so like under the grow light, and then you'd switch it to the balcony, and then under
Yeah.
the grow light, just so it was still getting more sun because ours was very shady.
Yeah,
Um,
like that, the way I was saying on the balconies, because that's the cheapest way to go. But I mean, if you have
yeah,
money, you can easily grow a lot of food inside the apartment if you just have power. So you need lights. If you're in a colder area, either heating mat, or something that grow in your room temperature. But the more lights you have, the more power you're using, the more cost there is, right? So that's why
yeah.
it's not always, it doesn't always make sense to just grow under lights.
But with apartments, like maximize your space. So I was just mentioning this earlier. You can go on like online, Amazon, Home Depot. They have modular, like planting pots. So they're stackable, and you can turn them any way to fit your balcony. So you can do, rows and rows, stack it, and then on the top one, put your trellis and grow your peas going upwards. So you're literally growing vertically, like he was saying, and you can maximize your space that way. Okay. Honestly, starting your own garden, planting your own food, it gives you so much excitement and joy. You feel accomplished, but you also are able to save money, and then you know exactly what you're eating. Even at the grocery store, I was saying this in the other video that we're sharing to the membership platform. Even certified organic things at a grocery store do not mean technically organic. They are still sprayed. They're sprayed with organic pesticides and herbicides, but those are still not natural, and they're still not things that you want to be eating. So ideally, growing your own food, you know exactly, like completely what's going in there. Um, do you plant through the winter?
Yeah, so I plant throughout the winter. I have a setup in the basement as well. So I have lights, I have heat mats, I also
Shelving.
shelving. So I really do been adding to it every year. Also, I grow hydroponically, organic hydroponics, which is a little bit tougher to do. Um, but you can also grow outside in the winter in Canada, even though it's cold. I mean, I have a greenhouse, like a hoop house with some plastic on it. You can The cheapest way to grow throughout the winter is to either do a little cold frame inside of the hoop house. So now you're increasing the temperature every little building you put inside. And in there, you'd probably grow things like lettuce, kale. Like kale, you'd probably start in September, October, and then let that grow throughout the winter.
I
Parsley's,
feel like even broccoli, maybe.
no,
No?
broccoli might be a little, because you don't really eat.
Or Brussels sprouts? Because those are always out in the winter.
Yeah, like those, there'll be some of them will survive if you're inside, but I mean, if you're growing, actually producing throughout the winter, you want to grow something that you can eat the whole plant. So I mean,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
maximize, because we have less sun here in the winter, right? So or less sun is the plant slows down its growth.
Okay.
So only cold anything, kales, parsnips, carrots will even do all right in the winter. Parsley, you want to grow those a little bit earlier, starting maybe September, October, just to get them to start growing before it starts getting darker throughout the nights.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, you can definitely grow all year round. But microgreens is probably the easiest thing to do in the winter.
And they're so nutritious. If you do broccoli and radish are the two most nutritious and incredible for the liver, for liver cleansing, liver support, digestion. So if you can get broccoli and radish, you can do like the sprouts or microgreens or whatever they're called, and then pea shoots. We love those. And the kids eat them, like we get a bowl and they just literally eat it straight out of the bowl. They're so good. So those are great. Um, what are the best foods to clean toxins out of the body? So this isn't really like a gardening question, but binders, so sponges. I like chlorella, spirulina, anything with high chlorophyll content. Those are what I would be going for. So your leafy greens, organic, of course, kale, spinach, Swiss chard, dandelion, sea vegetables, so like seaweed, kelp, anything that's high in chlorophyll are going to be the best foods to clean out toxins. Okay. They changed, hold on, I missed a few things. So they changed the law's definition so much that it appears things are good and organic when they aren't. Yes, we went to, we live in Canada and there's this Guelph Organic Conference that we try to go to every year, except with COVID, they've canceled it. But um, so many farmers there who are certified organic, they have the USDA certification. They were talking and we were asking them, how do you manage or pests and diseases, viruses? And they say that they spray them. And if you look at what they're using for sprays and the ingredients, I mean, Patrick knows more than I do, but they're not they're not
Yeah,
that great.
yeah, they're still chemicals and they still have warning labels on them. I mean, if you have a warning label on a product that's being sprayed, what about eating it, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that still passes organic certification. And then again, if something comes from a different country, if
The
it's
border.
if it's coming from say Mexico organic and we're here in Canada, it crosses the American border and then the Canadian border sometimes on the trucks. And I've heard that some of the trucks get gassed, so that basically means they put some sort of chemical in the transport truck, fumigate or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
and then that crosses the border and it happens again on the next border. So what about that, right? That's still organic, but I mean it's
Yeah.
gone through who knows why twice.
It's true.
Um, and then yeah, so organic certified organic. The best food to eat really is go to a local organic farmer, not so much farmer gardener.
Yeah.
They usually don't get certified organic is because they just cost too much and it's a big process. But if you just look at what they're doing, if you see how they grow, you can usually usually tell if
Oh,
it's
sorry.
organic just by looking how they grow.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't take too much.
We have a lot of farms in our area, and they call themselves organic. Again, there's no USDA certification because you have to pay, and it's a lengthy process. But I call them up. I before we ever go to a farm, I will always call them and just ask like, "Are you guys organic? Are you spraying anything?" And then if they're even spraying like natural organic stuff, I don't consume it. I want it to be completely organic. Obviously, I shop organic at our stores, and like Patrick said, they do get sprayed when crossing the border because they don't want to be bringing bugs or viruses from one country to another, so they do have to spray them. So that automatically kind of puts your organic foods obsolete. Like at least in the US, you guys are probably luckier than us. Here in Canada, most of our organic
Yeah.
food is imported from the US or from, Mexico, like a different country. So it will get sprayed crossing the border.
One thing I was going to say also, I do work with people from Mexico on my job right now. They were laughing about the organic bananas because they actually work on the farms there, a lot of them, and they said that they just put the same different labels on the same banana. So I mean,
I literally pay more money for organic
yeah.
bananas. Is
So
that for real?
oh yeah, 100%. So they probably have one little section on the farm that's organic, and then they're trying to maximize their profits, so they just throw stickers on other stuff that's been sprayed.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Wow.
and this is like I guess coming from the source because these guys worked on the farms there as well as these ones here up here, and it's just really you can't control it. Like at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and a lot of these farms they just don't care about I guess people. They care more about how much produce or how many fruits they can put out, and
Yeah.
whatever works, it works. So
It's
um,
crazy. I also heard that a family member of ours works at the border and knows somebody who deals with like importing produce, and bananas undergo radiation apparently crossing. So point is, like when you're buying organic, there's nothing that's truly organic unless you can grow it yourself. You know exactly what is going on your stuff. And unless you're using like natural essential oils or something for pest control or things like that, I would just, it's not considered truly organic. It's still better to choose organic because there's less sprays, but you're still getting some things. But yeah, so back to my point, we were at a Guelph Organic Conference and the farmers there were saying that they have USDA certification and they're still spraying. And again, like Patrick said, there's warning labels on what they're using. So to me, that's not natural enough. You know how holistic I am and I want like the purest. So we're always, we prefer to grow things ourselves. The things that are the most important to eat organic are the ones where you are eating the entire product. So an avocado, you're peeling it. A squash, you're peeling it. Bananas, you're peeling. Those don't have to be organic as much as, say, a berry or a lettuce, things that you're eating, there's no peel, there's no shell. It's just whatever's been sprayed is going into you. So it's better to grow those things. If you are limited on space, if you have a balcony or a small little backyard, grow the things that don't have a shell. So don't grow squash. I mean, you can, but maybe save that space and grow lettuce, kale, spinach, herbs. Those are going to be more important. I think there was a couple more questions and then we'll sign off. So, okay. Okay. Do we sell some of those foods? What were
No,
we talking about? I
I think
lost
they're just
track.
asking if we sell some of the things that we grow. So I guess in the spring, sometimes I'll sell some of the plants, actually plants to people or friends, or just give them out. But the actual food itself, we don't. We just eat it ourselves. I mean, there's not. We have.
I freeze a lot of it for
Yeah.
like for example zucchinis. Those we have in abundance, thankfully. Like they grow really well. So I'll give to my parents, we give away to friends and family, and then I chop it up and freeze it for you guys know our smoothies. I always do vegetable smoothies. So we don't usually have too much produce to sell, but he does. Yeah, he sells some plants and he grows everything from seeds. So he starts everything himself with organic seeds, with no sprays, nothing, and then as the plant grows, he'll sell them, just to some local buyers. Okay. Speaking of chlorophyll, if you consume organic wheatgrass juice powder, could that work? Wheatgrass is really hard on the body to extract the nutrition, so I don't usually suggest wheatgrass. It also can never be certified gluten free. So if you're celiac, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just much lower in nutrition and chlorophyll content compared to like a sea green or something else. So I would personally, if you're looking as like a binder for toxins, go chlorella, spirulina, sea moss, something like that. Okay. Patrick is right. Those fruits aren't good. We do, you have to do your best. Like, it's again better to choose organic, even though there might still be some sprays than to
Well, I
not.
mean, get organic from the same country or at least the same area you live in. The more local, the better, right? The less traveling, the less chances of something getting sprayed on it, or right. So the closer to you, the better as well.
Oh, sorry. Hold on, guys. What's this question?
What about the company
Plant
X
X.
Life? I've never heard of them, so you'd have to maybe get more details on that or look into it.
Can look into that. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never heard of Plant X. Local farmers market still okay. I mean, we
Um,
have
okay, go ahead. No,
okay,
that's all.
we have a lot of local farmers markets, and all of the produce that I see there is the exact same that's in our grocery store, and it's coming from different parts of Canada, but there's no USDA certifications, there's no organic, it's just literally what you can buy at a grocery store. I have not been to a farmer's market where it's like a little old person or someone, who grew the food themselves and are selling it, right? I always see like Foodland,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
there's I guess two kind of people at the farmers market. The actual person who's gardening and farming and growing their own thing, but then the other people are just repackaging stuff and selling it as a.
Yeah.
They go to like a grocery store, repackage it, throw it in a. Maybe they grew one apple and then the rest is from the grocery store without those stickers. So there's a lot of those people, and you can usually tell the fruits are absolutely perfect looking. Not,
Yeah, that's true.
you can usually tell like who's doing what, but there are still some good farmers. Like locally, we have a few farms, herb farms, and they're doing a really good job. Um, but when you see somebody with, for example, middle the start of spring or just end of winter, just starting the farmers market, having tons and tons of cucumbers, having peppers, having tomatoes, either they grew them in a greenhouse
At least
um,
in Canada.
in Canada, or just scamming everyone. So I mean, if it's not in season and they have lots of it, figure out why. Do they have greenhouses? Are they growing hydroponically? If they are, what are they using? Right. So,
Yeah,
um,
ask. Like
yeah,
when we go, if I'm like that package of berries looks phenomenal, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, are these organic? And then most of the time they'll say no, which they're not. They'll say no, they have been sprayed. But you'll get lucky, and sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, we grow these ourselves, and we don't use anything on them, and you just take their word for it. You can't
yeah.
prove it,
There
but
was a documentary in Toronto. I think I forgot which news reporter covered it, but they caught a huge factory farm. What they were actually doing was just buying out produce, just like from the same place the grocery stores do, and just packaging them up, jacking up the prices, selling them at farmers market as farmers market prices, right? Um, they were getting huge deliveries by transfer trucks and stuff like that. I think they were caught because they left a few barcodes on the stickers. So
Yeah.
um,
Okay, we're not trying to like rain on your parades either.
no,
It's not
but
to like deter you from farmers markets or like make you guys
yeah,
feel frustrated.
but
But yeah,
there are good ones, but you have to be careful with some of the bad ones out there. And
yeah.
you can tell.
And again, this is just like from our experience where we live in Canada. You go to a farmer's market here, and most of the stuff is like in a box from Foodland, like from the grocery store. It's just been repackaged, so it just depends where you're going. But anyways, that was a really long-winded answer. I hope we don't make you guys feel like depressed with this like negative answers, but just want to keep it real. Um, so with all of this happening, what is the best way to wash vegetables and fruit? Okay, so I have three things that I like to do. Number one is the Thieves Fruit and Veggie Soak. It's my favorite because it has the essential oils and all the things, so it can break down like the pesticides on the surface, any wax on the surface. It also can destroy fungus, parasites, viruses. So I soak my vegetables in Thieves Cleaner. If I am going to like buy my stuff from a store and I see there's a lot of bugs on it, which a lot of times there are, I will soak it with diatomaceous earth in the water as well. I leave it 15-20 minutes and then you rinse it and you'll be surprised at how many bugs are left behind in the water. So those are two things. If you don't have either of those, you can use baking soda. I do about 2 to 3 tablespoons of baking soda in a sink of water, and then I let the vegetables sit. That baking soda can help destroy some of the film on the fruit, but it also can destroy some bacteria that can't tolerate the alkalinity of the baking soda. And those are the three things that I would say. I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Um, I'm sorry, I was just
He's
joking.
sleeping over here.
No.
No, I'm joking. Washing.
Washing. Well, I guess I leave that side of things to you. But also, when you're growing plants, growing fruits, I know that sometimes they have some organic farmers will actually go and cover each fruit with a special bag. Um, so that keeps all pesticides, all pests off of the plant, so they don't actually have to spray. Um, so if it's growing really well, you don't have to worry about it at all. You can just pick it and eat it.
Yeah.
But that again depends on how the farmer is, where they're located. Are they near someone who is spraying? So, but
Yeah.
if you're growing yourself, you can really. I forgot what they're called. There's these little bags that you can actually put on the fruit, and they grow inside of them. Protects them from bugs and also protects from pesticides in the air.
So you guys can check that out. There's a family, if you're in, like we live in Canada, in Ontario, and then specifically in Ontario, we're in Niagara. There's a farm, it's called Myers Organic Farm, Meier, and they're completely organic. They don't have the USDA certification, I don't believe, but they don't spray anything. They're like really trustworthy. It's run by a family. And so if we go there, which isn't too often this year, but when I do buy fruits or vegetables from there, like I don't even bother washing them. I'll just like eat them on the way home without washing them because I know that they're grown really, really well. I do like to eat like from our garden too. I will never wash them because you get probiotics, right? Like if you're just picking something from a garden and you just dust it off and eat it, you're getting SBO probiotics. So you don't have to scrub everything. It's more just if you're buying right from a grocery store and you're not sure if they're like apples will have a wax like, on the outside and you're not sure, just soak them in the bare minimum baking soda. But if you can get the Thieves Cleaner, I love that stuff. Okay, almost done. So okay. They're laughing when you said they'll grow one apple. Okay. Okay. So Plant X is an all organic food company. They have stores in Canada and only one in the US. Oh, cool. So we need to check that out. I haven't heard of that, but to be honest, where we live, I feel like there's nothing good. Like if you go to Ottawa, the bigger cities, probably Vancouver, you're gonna find a lot of good stuff in Canada, but where we live, there's not many options. Okay, last question. What's the best soil to be using for your house plants?
Okay, so it depends what house plant you're planting, I guess. Like if it's an orchid or if it's tomatoes, depends what you're actually trying to
Most
plant.
likely fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables. So you can just really get any soil. Just look at the label. Make sure there's no chemicals. You'd be surprised how many soils are out there that are say like potting soil or vegetable potting soil or whatever, costs like almost $15 a bag, and then there's just really just like toxic chemicals in there that are supposedly good for you and for your plants. If you're going to eat them, be very careful of that. If you don't, if it's something like ornamental, then who cares, right? But there's a lot of I guess scams out there. They say organic soil or whatever, and it doesn't matter. There's no such thing as organic. If it's soil, it's obviously had organic matter in it. Um, but to get good soil, I add a little bit of compost in there. That's really the best way. But if it's just growing for ornamental purposes, you need a soil with some fertilizer because it is in a pot, right? The pot, once the plant uses up the nutrition, then it's depleted. You got to either change the soil or add fertilizer into it.
Okay.
So there are organic fertilizers that you can add. But there are very expensive soils that are like for professional growers, I guess. They have different types of funguses in there to help your roots attach to something, and it grows and helps them grow faster and better. Um, Depends on what you want to spend, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like here we have a local garden center, and we'll go buy um you buy like those big bags of soil, but we'll go
Mm-hmm.
buy soil from there. And they have soil, and they always try to sell it to me. When I tell them it's like I'm growing fruits or vegetables. Like when I was doing my strawberry beds, I'm like I need a soil, and they were trying to sell me on this soil that they've mixed fertilizer in already. There's all kinds of things that will help your plants grow, absolutely, but there's fertilizer. So just ask if you're not sure, but it should say on the bag like what specifically is in it. I personally just say like regular topsoil with no added fertilizers or anything. And like Patrick said, like add compost if you want more nutrition. Like,
Yeah.
do your own thing.
But one thing with compost in house plants is you're going to bring in the organic matter. You're going to bring in probably some worms or bacteria or
Yeah.
funguses. Sometimes that's good, but if you're trying to like separate indoor growing from outdoor, you want to make sure that there's like no like bad bugs, I guess, insects or something that will come and destroy your plants. I had a problem with that one year, and it
He
wasn't very
never
fun.
lets me bring anything in until he checks it because I brought I brought aphids into the house one time. I bought like these plants from the grocery store. They were organic basil and whatever in a pot. And I got so excited, and I went to like put it on his shelf where he grows all his stuff. And he's like, "Stop!" He's like, "I need to know. There's gonna be
Yeah.
like aphids or like whatever that can
Yeah, I had
transfer."
a aphid and gnats. They were on a huge outbreak on my plants. It destroyed everything, but I got them in control. But I mean, that's the thing. If you're growing indoors, there's no natural predators. So when you have an outbreak, you have an outbreak, and um, that's
So
why you
just
don't. You,
yeah, be careful with compost
if
and
you
stuff.
if you bring things in from outside, I've done it. Like I overwinter peppers. I have 3-year-old, 4-year-old pepper plants. Um, Rinse the roots, get rid of all the soil, and pretty much start over, plant it in there in new soil so it's separate from outside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can have a problem.
Um, okay, before I answer the last question, what about blood? I heard blood meal or bone meal. Like, is that something?
Yeah, so that's just an organic way of, I guess, getting
Is
the.
that a fertilizer?
Yeah, so you can use it as fertilizer. So like what you see on the labels, NPK, phosphorus, nitrogen.
Nitrogen.
Like you can use organic things. So nitrogen, you can use like some leaves that are high in nitrogen. You don't have to use like those granular fertilizer that they have everywhere. Um, you just have to figure out what your plant needs. Some plants need more nitrogen. Some need more phosphorus. Some need more like different minerals. Some need more calcium actually. So you can go to
Google.
Google, or you can actually buy bulk minerals and then mix them yourself if you really have time on your hands. But there's a lot of places you can get natural, I guess, fertilizer. Anything organic is fertilizer, but you just have to know what your plant needs, and then mix it in according to that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So, but yeah, I was like super excited about my plants. I like brought them home. I'm like, look, I bought organic plants, and that kind of ruined our thing. Anyway, yeah, Canada is still on technically lockdown. We're like going into different phases. So next week we're going into what they call stage 3, which allows us to do some more things, but we're still pretty limited with what we're allowed to do here. It's been almost 2 years straight of like stay at home orders, state of emergency. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. That's for another video. Okay. Yeah, so that's everything. That's all the questions, guys. We're going to sign off because it's been about 45 minutes. If you want much more information on this, head to holisticspring.org. I'm uploading the video that we filmed tomorrow, and he goes into a lot more depth on what specifically it means when there's mushrooms and in your soil, like everything. He goes into a lot more detail. So we'll cover that. Queen has a question, so I'll just wait one more second and we'll try to answer the last one before we sign off. But we are going away, so I won't be posting any YouTube videos for about a week and a half. We're going away on Tuesday night, and then we'll be back the following Tuesday night or Wednesday night. So I thought it would be fun to do a live now and get you guys a video because I won't be able probably to get one out for a little while. So you guys can follow along on Instagram at Marla's Healthy Life and kind of do what foods we're going to be eating and what we're going to be up to on vacation. But it's just a little getaway with the kids. Yes, we will definitely go live again. It's hard for us to both be available at the same time because he has crazy work hours. So when he's free, I'm working, and then when I'm free, he's working. But we will try to make this work and do another one. I'm just going to wait another second and see if there's that final question. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we're just answering questions specifically on gardening and permaculture, farming, that kind of stuff. But I'll come live again and I'll answer more questions. Queen, I do have a post on holisticspring.org that talks about Crohn's and digestive issues. I also have posts on my blog, and I have a YouTube video as well that goes into some detail. I also just posted in my opinion, really informative and pretty in-depth video on diabetes, specifically on holisticspring.org. So I would encourage you to check that out, and then if after you watch those videos and read those posts, if you have further questions, then you can let me know. But I will come live again, I promise, and I'll answer more questions. I just wanted to keep this one specifically farming, permaculture, that kind of stuff. So thanks guys for joining. I hope you have a beautiful upcoming week. I hope you enjoyed your Sunday. It was really rainy here today, but we did get a family walk in, which was nice. So anyways, we're gonna go to bed. I'm really tired, but I will see you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your July, and I'll be back probably a week and a half with some new videos. So stay tuned. Good night. Bye.
All right, bye.